Today I'm going to show you how to make a fancy tree using an old book. It just requires folding some pages. Takes about 15 minutes, a little bit of work, and you will end up with this fantastic tree that you can decorate however you like, or if you're like me, you might like it plain and simple, just the way it is. All you need to make this paper tree is an old book. I've decided to go with my Darling My Hamburger. It's a nice size. It's not too incredibly thick. If it's too thick, it's going to take you a very long time to do. This book is 122 pages. It's a nice size to make a tree, just like this one. Nice and full. And all you're going to do, first and foremost, rip the cover off. You don't need it. With these old books, they tend to come off quite nicely. I do suggest breaking the spine a little bit if it's not already. This one is pretty broken. So it's very simple. We're going to start with the very first page. All you're going to do is fold the page, take it from the top corner, top right corner, and line it up with the seam. Make a nice sharp fold. You're going to do the same thing again. Take this little corner you've got here, bring it over, hold the layer underneath. You don't want it to move. You want everything to line up with the seam nicely. It will make for a very sharp tree. Line up the edge, and a nice sharp crease. You're going to end up with this little guy down here. It's a little teeny tiny piece that hangs over the edge. You're going to take him, fold him up, line him up with the bottom of the book. And that's it. You're going to do this with every page in the book. Now this book, as you can see, the pages are starting to tear out on me. If it's a little too old, you might have that problem. So, unfortunately, we've lost a page. So, you may want to start by just doing the one. Then as you flip the pages, it's not as thick. And you can work your way through one by one. The thicker it gets, the more stress you're going to put on that seam. And an old book can't necessarily handle all that. So we're going to go through and keep folding. I'm going to go back and I'm going to try folding a few more of these other pages here. That first page is always tricky, lining it up just right. Once you get the first one, you'll have a nice groove in the book that it slides nicely into. It is pretty important to get a relatively nice tight fold on all of these and a nice tight crease. I often like to wait until the end to fold those little tabs up at the bottom. I find it just moves a little quicker. And you'll see as you keep going, it's going to get tougher and tougher to fold those in. The end of the book is a little bit hard to work with, but it just takes a little bit of time and patience, and you'll end up with a beautiful tree at the end. As you get further into the book, you'll see that doing the top crease gets more and more difficult. If you can see, it's sometimes nice to slide it through as you pull it down. And it also helps to have fingernails, because you can kind of push it into that seam as it gets thicker and thicker. I also find as I get going along, it's helpful to clip the pages together, because otherwise, as you're working, they're in your way. So if you clip them back, then it makes it a little bit easier. A binder clip may have been a better choice. I just am not sure where my large binder clips are right now. So I'll show again. You kind of slide it down, and you can push that top corner in with a fingernail. And always make sure you're making a nice tight crease on the pages. It will make it a lot easier, and it will look a lot sharper in the end. See there, I didn't get that one in very well. It's only paper, it's very forgiving. I don't suggest pushing on the seam itself too much, as the thickness may cause it to tear, but it is helpful to push all of the folded edges into each other. It will help give you some more space to work with. Now you can see here we have a completed tree. Well, almost. I did not fold those little points in on the bottom of the pages. You can see here it gives it a little bit of an edge. It does give the tree a little bit of an appearance of floating when it's on the table. However, having made these for a few years, after one Christmas season, the weight of the book will fold all these points. So you may like the look this Christmas, and then when you bring them back out next Christmas, you may need to fold those points in, or if you're lucky, they didn't bend, and you'll be left with a fabulous floating tree. You can also make these trees with magazines, and that's for a more colorful approach. Do the exact same thing, rip the cover off. You'll probably have to break the seam a lot more on a magazine, as there is a lot more glue. And yeah, you can use books, you can use magazines, pretty much anything of the sort. And older books work wonderfully, they look nice, very classic. You can use a newer book as well, it doesn't make a difference. You can also spray paint the trees. A nice silver or gold looks very nice, and then maybe put some glitter over them. There's so many different things you can do, and the seam allows for a small hole in the top that, this one gives a better example of that. There's a small hole in the top. It's nice for putting a little star or something on a pick and sliding it in there, and then you've got a tree complete with a star on top. Hope you enjoyed my tutorial, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I look forward to hearing from you.